Welcome to The Climb. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. As a matter of fact, that's literally what The Climb means. It's an acronym that stands for Creating Leverage in the Music Business. Let me introduce you to my co-host and good friend, Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And he helps songwriters turn pro. This is the cool part, by teaching the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. And you can find Brent on songwriterpro.com or manversusroad.com. He just recently rebranded, but we don't want to alienate anybody.
Exactly. Hey, and I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. It's an innovative artist development company. They help you find your sound and they help you find your audience. So not only do they develop and improve your artistry, they also grow and monetize your fan base, creating cash flow. Yeah, that's right. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S. Hey, Johnny, how's it going tonight?
What's going on, my man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm ready to, share some knowledge.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about what we're going to get into. But before we do that,
Yes.
I just want to tell everybody, hey, first of all, thank you for consuming this podcast. Our show has been increasingly growing every single month by double-digit percentages, which we are thrilled
Really
and
cool,
blessed
yes.
and grateful to have. Thank you. And do us a favor. We're working really hard to share this information with you. Obviously, more and more of you are listening because you like it. Take 10 seconds out of your busy lives and leave a rating and leave a review on iTunes. It helps us grow. It helps us reach more people and spread the wealth around, okay? It would mean a lot to us and to your fellow indie artists, singers, and songwriters.
That's right. The artist, the independent artist you help may just cut one of your records, and if they listen to the podcast, they may sell more records. You're really putting money in your own pocket. That's really what you're doing.
Right there.
That's right.
That's strong.
And the co-writer and the songwriter you help to get better just may be a future co-writer, and they're going to.
The songwriter you may help to get better. Just might be you.
It might be you. Exactly. It really pays for itself. Really.
So we are going to talk today, getting right into it, as 8 questions you need to ask yourself as a songwriter before you demo that song.
That's right. So
this is a mental sort of filter that you put yourself through before you put the fork in it and say it's done and it's ready to cook.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So, it's, coming from, my point of view as a songwriter, writing a bunch of songs in a year, you get super excited. You go through, every time you walk out of the room, you feel like, okay, this is it. This is a hit. This feels great. Otherwise you wouldn't have, finished it. So, you've written a stack of songs and you've mowed a bunch of yards to get demo money. So the big question right now is not when to demo, where to demo, or how to demo it. The big question you really should ask is, should you demo the song? All right. So if you thoughtfully answer the following questions, you'll spend your money more efficiently and more effectively. And that's the big thing. It's kind of the hey, slow down a little bit, tap the brakes here before you go out spending thousands of dollars recording songs. You want to make sure you spend your money wisely because unless you're just independently wealthy, which I ain't, you want to spend your money wisely.
It's a limited resource, so you want to make sure you're getting as much bang for the buck as you can.
And it's not just money, it's time. How much time and energy are you putting into songs, and do they really require that much time and energy? Are they worth it? Do they deserve it? Are they going to help you get where your goals are? And that's the big thing. So, I came up with a list of 8 things that you should ask yourself and really consider, because it's easy to get new song love and to want to run out and demo it. And, while you can still smell the fresh coat of paint on it, but you just want to make sure that it's ready to go. So we're going to talk about that tonight. So hopefully this is one that's going to help you save money and save time too.
That's right. And this is important because that new song love that you talk about, I was out in California for years and I was very much into the tech industry and electronics. And I got a lot of really good friends that were really super smart engineers that were developing half the stuff that makes our lives better today back then. And I was like in the opening stages of that. And I remember them sitting around talking. Every once in a while I'd get an idea or I'd be around and we'd be out to lunch and they would get an idea, and all the other engineers, you know what their job was? Blow holes in it.
Yeah.
Not from a negative aspect, but from a helpful aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, what about this? What if this isn't one? What if that, like, and just trying to make sure that that idea was strong.
Right.
You know, and I think that that's kind of what you're at here. Like, you want to, because you come out and you're, oh, it's a great idea. This is so good. I'm so excited. I never felt bad about a song right after I wrote it.
Right.
You know?
Well, I have a couple times, but you don't need to tell those stories.
Well, oh, that's another episode. But so this is good. This is good information. So what's number one?
Right.
Let's get into
number one thing to ask yourself before you demo and lay your money on the table and spend your good money with someone like Johnny is the song finished? It's pretty basic, right? But
seems like,
yeah, you know, and I love the emotional high of just finishing a song and feeling like it's a big old hit, right? It's that new song love. But it's important to step back and make sure it's really finished, because there is a big difference between 90% done and 100% done, especially if your goal is to make money and to get cuts, to get somebody else to record your song or to connect with an audience. Because, you know, the difference between 90% done and 100% done might be the difference between a publisher passing on your song or a publisher keeping your song, you know, and wanting to hear more. It might be the difference between a hold and a cut. Might be the difference between a cut and a single. You know, those little things are just living. It's a game of inches kind of thing, and just those little differences, slight advantages, can bring big results. So you want to make sure,
ultimate craftsman.
Man, you want to make sure it's all the way there. Because for one thing, and I've been there, is, you know, I got a demo done, and then you realize, nah, it's not quite all the way there. And that's just a bad feeling, because you know you're not going to pitch it now because you don't feel like it's watertight. You know, it's not bulletproof, but you still got to pay. You still got to pay for it, just as if it's great. You know, they don't cut you a discount because you're like, I didn't write it well enough. Oh, sorry, here's 10% back. I'll do that.
It's a 20% restocking fee.
I know, exactly. Yeah, we can't return it. What do you want us to do? So that's the big thing is, you know, have you played it for an industry pro and gotten feedback? You know, have you used it like a song evaluation service? Have you played it for other writers and asked them their honest opinion? I'm not talking about your mom's opinion, you know, unless your mom is like Reba, you know, your mom's opinion really doesn't count unless, you know, she loves you and that's good. But if she's not in the industry, it doesn't count. So that's the big thing. And there's some some avenues, I guess, for finding, kind of getting some feedback on whether or not your song's done. There's some services there, like NSAI has song evaluation services, that sort of stuff, or coach and mentoring sessions, where you can get an opinion and feedback. But then there are also, you know, forums, online places, and friends, other writers that are, you know, free resources for you to go and get the feedback and have people start, like the other engineers, trying to poke holes in it and asking questions and trying to make it better. And so you want to do some of that. Like, you know, me having a publishing deal, you know, when I've had those, I didn't just run out and demo something without getting feedback. You know, for one thing, you know, because I always co-write, being a lyricist, so I would have to sign off on it. My co-writers would have to sign off on it, you know, it'd be cool. I'd play it for my plugger or pluggers, get their feedback. We'd go through a list and say, is it finished? Is this one we want to consider? Yes or no? And my co-writer would do the same. So you do get some committee voting in there, you know, unless you're just a huge time writer and just go and do your own thing, you know, which if you are, call me. But anyway, so you want to,
you got to give your number now.
I know. gift2brent.com. No. So that's what you don't want to do. You just want to make sure it's all the way finished, because, man, you don't want to spend all that money and then decide you need to spend that money again, or just let it go.
And I'll tell you what, like, I'll give you a quick little story. We talked about this before in a couple other podcasts, but I was working with this killer artist named Craig Artis, who wrote the song Haggard Fan. Mm-hmm. And when he first came to us with that song, man, it was a really, really cool song. It was, I loved it. Like, I freaked out on it. I was like, the idea behind it was great. It wasn't your just outward drippy, syrupy homage to Merle Haggard. It was about a blind date, and the two kids figured out they were going to get along perfectly fine when they figured out they both love Merle Haggard. Yeah. But he wove 6 #1 Merle Haggard song titles into the story, you know, into the chorus, and it worked. It wasn't cheesy. It worked well. But the story, when he brought it to us, was 75% of the way there. Like, there still needed to be, it needed to go from here to here to really just make it unfreaking deniable, you know? And we put him with Jeff Tweedle, who's got a couple #1 Merle Haggard hits, and said, hey, Jeff, what do you think about this? He goes, oh, I think this is great. I said, do you hear what I'm hearing? Like, there's a couple more dots that need to be connected. He's like, I think we can do something. And he sat down with Jeff, and here's an instance where he paid Jeff up front, you know? Like, he paid Jeff an hourly rate to as a work for hire thing, so Jeff wouldn't have a co-write on it. Yeah. But Jeff really liked the song, said he would do it. And 3 hours later, I came back in, and both of them, I couldn't smack the smile off their faces. They were like, "Oh, we have got it now." Yeah. And you know what? It makes a difference. Like it went to the next. That song is solid, and he won't shop it because he wants it for himself because he's an artist, and I don't blame him. Yeah. You know.
And again, you know, small advantages can bring some big results. You know, that when they're going in the studio, the artists go in the studio, they're looking for reasons to knock songs off the list. You know, because I have 15 that I love, and I'm only putting 10 or 12 on this record. I got to get rid of 3. Well, there you go. That might make the difference. So you want to be strong.
And this is how it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yep. So
number 2.
Number 2, is it a wide pitch? A wide pitch is a song that fits a large number of artists, as opposed to a narrow pitch is one that only a very limited number of artists could record. For example, if you say, well, if George Strait doesn't cut this, I don't know who's going to. Oh, that's a narrow pitch. But if you're like, man, I could play this for so-and-so, artist A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. I got a list right now of like 5 or 6 artists I could run out and play this for that and make sense for them to record a song like this. That's more of a wide pitch. So, you know, if your goal is cuts, as a general rule, I'm going to demo the more wide pitches because there are just more possibilities. You know, it gives me more chances to win. Is basically what it does. It's, you know, because if it's the one where if it's not George Strait, I don't know who's going to cut it. What if George says no? And then you're like, oh, well, all right, just stick it back on the shelf and we'll maybe play it again for him next record.
That's right.
But if it's, well, I got George Strait, I got Joe Nichols, I got, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G artist. Well, you just start at George, then you work your way to artist B and C and D. And, you know, hopefully one of them says yes.
That's right. Yeah. So, I'll tell you something to add to that real quick. Like, this is a studio trick that I've done several times where, and be aware of this, just a little, here's a free value bomb.
Value bombs away.
Sometimes if you've got a good producer producing that demo, I've done situations where I've taken a ballad and make it a mid-tempo, or taken more of an up-tempo and just crimped it back to you know, on the verge of up tempo and mid tempo, so that it could go pop, it could go, you know, pop country, it could go Carey, it could go Taylor, it could go, or it could be you know, hardcore, it could be like bro country, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes by messing, sometimes you're right on the cusp, and by switching the tempo just a little bit and the way that you approach the song, you can widen that net like you're talking about and make it appeal to more people. It could go, it's not just so one-dimensional as far as maybe you wrote like a bro country song, maybe you wrote like a vintage country song. It could be something more. So anyway, just from there.
Yeah, one thing we did when I was at Major Bob, I remember there's one case in particular where we had a song that really was gender neutral. It could have worked for a female to sing, a male to sing, and we also thought, man, with the same lyric,
like bathrooms these days.
Yeah, exactly. I identify as a male artist on this song, so
you go in this door over here.
There we go. 10 years, someone's going to listen to this and go, what? Anyway, so and so we had this song that kind of worked, you know, all those ways. So when we went and we cut it, we found demo singers, that a male and a female, that could sing in the same key. So they could sing to the same tracks. And so we did one tracking session, then we got both singers in there. We did a female version, a male version, and then we put them together as a duet version on the song. And it works each way. Yeah. And so we had, you know, we did have one song, but man, we could pitch it male, female, if there's a duet or a duo.
See, that's a good point. Like, by the way, when you do that, you, again, production wise, before you spend the money, like, sometimes that requires a key shift Okay.
Sometimes it does, right? And so
because a lot of times the key for girls is going to be up here, the key for guys is going to be down here, but we can meet right in the middle where I'm just at the top of the guy's level and just at the bottom of the girl's level where they can do that. So you can get a girl to sing it with the same recording,
exactly,
and a guy to sing it and save yourself some money. So
yep. So we've done that before. So and that can help. If you figure that out, go okay, maybe this pitch can be a little bit wider than I would have first thought. But there are some examples where you may say, well, this is a narrow pitch, but I think it's so spot on for artist X that we just got to do it. It's just a smash. It's for them. And we got, the mojo on this thing. Yes, sometimes. But as a general rule, if two songs are even, I'm going to go with the song that gives me the most places to go with it and get the most people to listen and hopefully, the better chance of somebody saying yes to it. So, if it's a tie, the wider pitch wins. So,
yep. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Number
three. So we've done, is the song finished? Is it a wide pitch? And number 3, is it commercially relevant? All right. So is this a song that a big audience will want to hear? All right. Will it make the listener laugh, cry, dance, or think? All right. So I think it's important to think about. And again, this is all through the lens of you want cuts, you want hits, you want to monetize your songs. So you got to think about, okay, not only could several artists, stylistically record this and, vocal range record this, but is this something an artist wants to say? Is it, is this something an audience wants to hear? And it's important to remember that it's really not about you as a songwriter. Most people will not ever know you exist. It is not about you. It is about the listener and what they want to hear and what the artist wants to say. And the artist wants to say what the listener wants to hear. So it really comes back to the listener. What do the fans want? And so you have to keep that in mind, because I've written some songs that I think, are finished, maybe not as wide of a pitch because they just weren't commercially relevant. Like, it's really cool, but it's really niche, weird thing, but I had a blast writing it, but I'm not going to go spend money on it. It was a fun day. It was a cool experience. It's got to flex my muscles creatively, whatever, expand my horizon some. But man,
create some writing relationships.
Exactly. And some days you just want to go have a good time and write something that's off the wall, just to keep that part of your brain active too, but I'm not going to go spend $1,000 on it because I'm not going to pitch it. Yeah. There's these other songs I'm going to pitch instead. Again, this is in a world of limited resources where I can't go demo every song I write. I don't have the finances, and even if I could, I'm not going to pitch all these songs. So therefore, I want to find the songs that I'm going to pitch. So yeah, is it commercially relevant? Is this something a large population will want to hear? Because that's what an artist is thinking about. What do my fans want to hear? So really niche things, novelty things, they may be cool, they may be finished, may be well written, but it's probably not going to make it to my demo list.
It's probably not going to end up being Crocodile Rock.
Probably not. Probably not. Most things
That's your novelty song right there.
Exactly. Yep.
Right on. That's good stuff. Okay, so number 4 is...
Who could sing this? Yep, number 4 is who could sing this. So I discussed in one of my posts at songwritingpro.com, the band is a brand. And so you can go there, check that out, and read it, and just do a search for it. But, basically an artist is a brand. They have a certain brand identity. And I know it's kind of a mind shift for maybe you to think about it that way as... no, man, Joe Singer's just Joe Singer. He does what he does. Well, yeah, but that's not totally by accident or totally random. And I think of it like an artist. You want to write something for an artist that fits in their branding, but also expands their product line within that brand. Meaning, say Jason Aldean is, Coca-Cola. And Luke Bryan is like Pepsi. Similar, but different flavors. Little different flavors, And another artist may be Mountain Dew. Another one may be sweet tea, And so if you're wanting to pitch for Jason Aldean, you want something that fits on that shelf with all the other Coke products. So you got your, his songs are like Diet Cherry Coke and Vanilla Coke and regular Coke and Coca-Cola Classic. And that one, that New Coke, well, no one remembers that one. That was off his first record, so it's like, okay, what is this? Does this song fit that brand? Is it a Coca-Cola or am I bringing a bottle of water, to somebody who's Coke. The song just has a totally different flavor. It's not really what he does. And so I think about that, when I'm thinking about it, how wide the pitch is, who I could play it for. Is there an artist who's seen this? So you got this thing, you're like, okay, this is this flavor. This is what it kind of tastes like. What shelf can this go on? Can these artists sing this thing? So there's that part of it.
It's more than just a good song always wins.
Right.
Because we've mentioned before in some past episodes that, for instance, Lady Antebellum passed on probably my favorite country song in the last couple of years, which is American Kids. I just love that song. I mean, that's my life, Yeah. I mean, it's a faded map dot. That's where I grew up in Wisconsin, and that's my life. So a knockdown, drag out, smash hit song, no questions asked. The numbers don't lie because the numbers can't talk, but it wasn't for Lady Antebellum. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
think about that. It's a different flavor. Once you get into pro songwriting, you better have a really, really good song. That's a given. Right. Now the question is, what flavor is it? Exactly. And who's got that flavor?
Yeah, and I had that experience with Lady Antebellum too. They cut a song of mine called "A Woman Scorned" for their first record.
So did I.
Yes, y'all cut it too. And so
love that song.
Thank you. And so I wrote it with Hillary and a couple other folks, and it was before Lady Antebellum got together, and so it was a really aggressive, kind of sound, and it wasn't an angry girl song, but it talked about one, and it was comical and all this stuff, and so they played it all their shows for a long time. It was in the set list from day one, good crowd pleaser. They went and they cut it, but it didn't make the album proper. You got it like as a bonus track if you pre-order the record and stuff. And, I was disappointed by that. But listening to the record after I got the whole thing, I was like, yeah, this is more aggressive than what they do. It's just a different flavor than what they do. It's not quite on brand. It was close enough.
It kind of doesn't fit with what they put together for the record either, too. It could be just that particular piece of work.
Right. Yeah, it just didn't quite fit. I mean, I had that with a Brad Paisley song one time. Let's talk about Brent's failures for a moment. And and why he doesn't have a bigger house. But yeah, I think we talked about this recently. But I wrote a song called Ring on the Bar with Byron Hill. And played it for Brad Paisley's people. And it was like 2 weeks before they're going in and finish the record. And Frank Rogers, his producer, put it on hold, and then he wanted to put on hold. He said, "Let me play for Brad first." And he played for Brad. Yeah, hold. And I'm like, this is 2 weeks out. They know what they need. I saw Brad at some event, and he was like, "Man, that's a perfectly written song." He remembered the name of it. And, I came up and introduced myself, and so I'm looking cool in front of my future wife. I'm like, "Hey, babe." Brad Paisley.
And you introduced yourself.
Oh yeah.
Because you had reason to go up and say hello, which most people fail on that right there. Kudos to you. Yeah. Hey man.
By the way, you got a song of mine. Whole thank you. I just want to say thanks.
Yep.
Glad you dig it. And he was like, "Oh, that one. That's a perfectly written song, man." I'm like, "Well, that's Byron Hill for you, And then they ended up not cutting it, so I was, of course, disappointed by that. But then I got the record. You know what? They just didn't go to that emotional place at all. It's not like it got beat by another song that was the same flavor. They just didn't go there. It was a sad ballad, and they just didn't have one on that record at all. It's like, okay, well, they just chose not to go there. So it didn't really matter how well it was written. They just weren't going there on that record. So anyway, but to bring it back, some artists. There's a new act on Warner Brothers called High Valley. Brad Rimple, who I've written with several times, and if you know him and you know the kind of guy he is, you're not going to be pitching him drinking, cheating, tailgate booty songs. Mm-hmm. It's not what he does. It's not who he is. It's not how he lives his life. That's not what he's going to sing about. And so, thinking, okay, well, I don't want to pitch the kind of the bro stuff to High Valley. They do something different. But even as a bigger idea, does this song fit the general branding of the format? Am I bringing a, really left field country song that really doesn't fit the country market where it is right now? Am I pitching a song that's much more 90s country or 80s country than current country? It may be well written and maybe, thematically relevant commercially, but sonically, if it's not, whatever. Melodically, if it's not, if it just feels dated, then it's like it really doesn't fit what's going on right now. So I think about those things as well. And, is it, is it so rangy that no one can sing it? I mean, our
That's
mutual,
the big thing.
yeah, that's something too, because our mutual friend Anthony Orio, he and I've talked about this, because he'd write these songs that are like, especially before he played, 200 dates a year in bars and stuff. Yeah. He was really rangy on his melodies. And, we'd write these things and he'd go play them for some publishers and like, man, that's great. But dude, what dude is going to be able to sing this?
Yeah,
well, Anthony.
We're not signing singers like labels.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you think we are?
No, exactly.
we got 5 notes. You got to fit right in there. Here.
And so, he didn't get a lot of love on some of those songs because they're like, yeah, I just don't know, which guys I could pitch this to, because it's so rangy melodically. There are not many guys that can sing that, and they're going to do that. So it's limited opportunities. So that's something you want to think about as well is, hey, is this going to, sit in somebody's vocal pocket, or do I have to have somebody come over from the opera, to hit these notes? So that's something to think about.
That's a good point. Well, right on. That wraps up part 1.
Yes, that's right. This is a part 1 of 2. So
8 questions to ask before you demo that song. That's good information, Brent. And you got more. You got one more bonus little item to give away.
That's right. Yeah, I have a free ebook. It's at giftfrombrent.com, BRENT, giftfrombrent.com, and it's Think Like a Pro Songwriter, and it's bunch of mindsets, short articles. It's an easy read, but it just gives you some relevant information about, okay, this is how I think and how other pro writers that I know think, and what's going through our heads. It talks about 10 ways to connect to a music publisher, 10 ways to get on a publisher's radar that we've talked about in a podcast. It's got that in there. It has just a lot of other information, like how do pro writers know who's looking for songs? How do you find out who's looking? Well, it lists 4 avenues that we use to find out who's looking, and that sort of thing. So if it's a good read and it's a free download, just go to giftfrombrent.com. You can check it out.
Awesome. And there you have it, guys. So you just keep on climbing. We'll see you at the top.
Adios. God bless.